PokerStatic.com. We bring you the interviews you want to hear. Now with your hosts, Bret Oliverio and Eric Bickel, the Poker Static Hot Seat.
What's up? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Poker Static Hot Seat. Bret Oliverio with Eric Bickel. Tonight's show is sort of a special one. It's our first sort of six-way show, and it's with all the guys from Bluefirepoker's MTT team, which just announced last Monday. Guys, welcome to the show. And this is how it's going to work. We might ask you guys maybe a question directly, but feel free, everyone, to just chime in and let's just have like a big conversation. So. First off, I got to say, welcome to Blue Fire Poker. I think it's really cool that, especially with poker in the United States being sort of, down and obviously people in the United States can't really play, Blue Fire Poker is still signing pros, and of course, they announced this MTT team. So, guys, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So how long has this been in the works? Like, when do you get the call? When do they say, hey, we want to talk to you guys about maybe working for us? How does that process begin? Why don't you start, Steph? How does this begin?
I was contacted by some of the guys from Blue Fire Poker maybe like 8 months ago, and I was told if I was interested to submit a video application for the job, and then I started working on my video. Ended up doing a 3-hour video application because once I got rolling, felt good, and then I had more things to say, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I sent off lots of months ago, and then just recently everything was confirmed. It's pretty exciting.
Wow, awesome. Is it the first time you've done like a video professionally like that, or have you worked for other sites before?
No, first time doing a video, first time doing official coaching. I've been coaching my friends for many, many years, so coaching is not new to me per se, but this format was. So when I did my video, got used to the editing and hearing myself talk, which is kind of awkward at first.
What about you?
Well, I want to ask you.
Go ahead, Bret.
Well, I want to ask you guys about sort of the process, because from what we know, you kind of apply, you make a video, and then I believe Phil Galfond sort of watches the video, critiques it, and you know that's going to happen. Andres, that has to be nerve-wracking knowing, one of the best players in the world is going to be critiquing your work.
Well, for me especially, because for me, Phil is not one of the best. This maybe sounds cheesy, but for me, he's the best, like hands down. On March of this year, I was first approached by Blue Fire to do this, but I had already committed to work with what was going to be the new Pocket Fights training group. So it was a bad timing for me. But since finally there was not a contract with Pocket Fires, I finally didn't end up doing it. So around a month and a half ago, Blue Fire contacted me again. And I shoot a video, and knowing that Phil was going to watch it, I think I reshoot it like 7 times because every time I hear it, I was like, he's going to think I'm awful. I had to do this again. So until they say, okay, you need to send something. I say, okay. So I send one, and half an hour later, I shoot another one because I wasn't really happy. I ended up, like Stefan said, sending like 2.5 or 3 hours of video, trying to have one hand good, right. So, but it was really cool. Nerve-wracking to know that he was going to watch it. Yeah, it was.
I assume
really hard.
Now, I assume kind of the same timeline for both you, Jake and Aaron. Of the 4 of you guys, who's been playing the longest? From reading the notes, it looks like Andres. Have you been playing the longest? You started playing about 2004, something like that?
The end of 2003 or beginning of 2004. Yeah, something like that. But not because of the money maker. I didn't even know that the World Series of Poker existed. I just bought my first computer in Spain,
right.
And I like to play poker. We used to play 5-card stud in Spain. So my first Google search ever was online poker, and I started to play poker.
Wow.
So yeah, 8 years ago.
Wow, 8 years. And then Aaron, How old are you now? Because you dropped out, Florida when you were about 21, something like that? You were studying math?
Yeah, I'm 25. I dropped out right before I turned 21 because I wanted to move to Vegas when I turned 21.
Right.
But I had already been playing for about a year then.
A year or two then. And then,
so I've been playing for about 6 years.
how did you get introduced to the game? So was it just something you did for fun, or did you totally come to it from a math perspective from the very beginning?
Oh, it was something I did for fun in high school. We just had home games and stuff. And then when I went to college, it became like a really big thing.
Right.
In 2000, in 2005, seemed like everybody's dorm room had a game.
Right.
And I would go around and play in all the games. And I started making a lot of money doing that for a college student, not actually a lot of money.
Right, sure.
And the first time I played online poker actually was I wanted to play with some friends, and we were all home for like Thanksgiving break or something, and we all made accounts on a poker site and played play money at the same table, and like cross-booked with each other. I wasn't really that interested in playing online versus anyone else at first, but I started playing free rolls and stuff like that, and I started winning at that. So that's how I started playing online.
Huh. And what about you, Jake? Talk to us about how you got started.
I started in 2008. I said 2007 in my video, but I got corrected on that. But my one buddy, who I played like high school, like lunchtime cafeteria poker with, he won like $100 freeze out for like 10K or something, and then he shipped me like $50 to play on Stars, and then I just kind of played from the micros up to high stakes.
Did any of you guys, when you started, like go through? We talked to a lot of guys that start out with cash, and there was just from reading your bios, some of you guys, just $50 transfer from somebody, one of you guys, I can't remember which one, you never even actually made your own deposit. You just kind of ran free rolls up. But then we talked to a lot of these cash group guys, and they would just deposit, run it up, lose it, deposit, run it up, lose it, rinse and repeat.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that kind of cycle. Did any of you guys go through that struggle at all, or did you just kind of hit the ground running? I don't know, Steph?
I definitely did not start winning at poker. Started with $50 deposits when I was late high school, early university. I would deposit $50 on party, and then I would go play 1-2 no limit, and then would lose it.
Right.
And then I did that for a couple of months. And then after a couple of months, I realized, man, I think, I've been losing at poker. I wonder how much I'm in for. I thought I was in for maybe $500-600. So I called the Party Poker and I asked them, how much have I deposited? And then they said I've deposited $2,600. So that was a really wake-up call for me. I was like, whoa, I'm a lot of money at this game. So it was either I stopped playing because I didn't have that. I had a little job, whatever, but couldn't finance losing at poker that much. It was either I stopped playing or I got serious about it. So then I started reading books. I got on Pocket 5, started trying to talk to players, et cetera, and then eventually, went back down in stakes, played some sit and goes, used those sit and goes to finance some MTT shots, et cetera.
Well, when you did get serious about it, you were working for the government in Canada, an 8-to-5 job, and here you are printing money online, playing poker, but yet you're grinding your government job, which paid okay, but obviously online poker paid more. And then, I've read a story how you would stay up all night grinding and then have to go to your Joe job. What was that like for you?
It was very depressing. It was a very hard time for me. It was a bad time in my life for me because I was in university, but then I stopped after 3 years of business class because I wasn't motivated by it. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So then I got a government job because I lived in Ottawa. I was bilingual, and then you just get government jobs just like that. So I got one. I didn't really like it, but it paid the bills, etc. My parents were very proud of me. But then eventually, every day I would wake up, and then I wasn't excited to go to work. It was very boring. And then eventually I started playing cash games during around that time, 1-2 no limit on cake. But I had more I was full stacking and whatever, and then I started making a couple $100 at night, and then having to go to bed to go to work the next morning to make a bit less than $100. So eventually, it just didn't make sense anymore. I loved playing poker. I really didn't like my job, and I was making more money at poker. Since I had no family, I had no car, I had no bills, I had no one depending on me financially, I figured, well, if I do this and I fail miserably, I'll be the only one going hungry, right? So took the plunge, and it's been the best decision I've ever made in my life.
And Andres, you were working as a carpenter. Is that right?
When I moved to Alaska, before that I had a small business in Spain. Then I moved to Alaska in 2005, and I learned carpentry. I had no idea about it. I just needed a job. I met my wife playing poker on Absolute Poker, playing 5, 10 cents, no limit.
How'd you start hollering at her?
Say what?
How did you start chatting her up?
Well, the story is, on Absolute Poker back then there was like probably the players pool was 1,000 players, so everybody knew each other. So we used to play 5, 10 cents or 10, 25 cents, no limit, all the time. So one day, I was bad at poker, but she was really bad, like seriously bad. So back then you could chat even when somebody was all in on a hand. So there was a hand that I raised with a pocket pair. She calls me. I flop a boat, and I bet. She raises. I shove because I didn't want her money. It was just fun. So she starts to think. I say, just fold. And she's like, I have a flush draw. I'm like, well, but you can't win. She's like, well, no, if I hit my diamonds, I'm going to win. And no, you're not. So she ended up, of course, she calls, she hits her flush, but when the hand's over, the money comes to me. So she didn't understand that. So I asked her for her email, and I sent her a chart with hands values.
Right.
And that's how we started to chat. So I moved here. I started to work as a carpenter, and when the crisis went really bad, there was no job, and I had $200 on full tilt. So I decided, okay, I had nothing to do for the next 2-3 months until the summer comes in Alaska. Maybe another carpentry job comes. I decided to give it a shot, and that's how it started.
Well, hold on. Let's back up to Spain. You said you owned your own business there. What happened to that business? And then from Spain to Alaska, you know,
my ex-wife
how does
has
that
that
happen?
business. Well, I was in the process of getting divorced, and she was getting divorced as well. So she went to visit me in Spain on August. She came back to Alaska. 2 weeks later, I came here, stayed for 3 months. I went to Spain to take care of some paperwork, basically giving my ex-wife the house, the car, the band, the business, and everything, so I could just get over it, and I moved here.
Wow.
And I was playing recreational. I was playing $20, $30 sitting goals on Absolute Poker. I discovered Poker Stars at the end of, I believe, 2006, because on Absolute they started to run a $20 freeze-out PLO8 that I won, like, I don't know, a lot of times. I was printing money at PLO8. So I found out that Poker Stars was another poker site. I didn't know that. And they had more PLO tournaments. So I started to, actually my first tournament on Poker Stars was a PLO $50 freeze out that I won. So that's why I started to play another site. But every time I had over $1,000 on my account, I would cash out and leave $200 left. I wasn't thinking about being a professional player or anything like that. It was fun to make money.
Right. So you were always good. Was there a light bulb moment? Were you were you into any of the training sites later? Like, how did you actually improve as a player?
I wasn't good. It was that people were really bad.
Yeah.
I was less bad than they were. What happened was that for years we played a lot with people like Big Dog Poker Fives, Deep Strong, and Mike Sowers on Absolute Poker. We played hundreds of sitting goals together, thousands probably. So we had Mike Sowers, we used to chat a lot with him, and he told us, hey, there's this site called Poker Fives where there's a lot of people discussing about poker or hands and stuff. And there's also this other training site, back then was Poker X Factor, that you can watch videos from good players and learn a lot. That's how I discovered poker forums, training sites, and I started to read every single post that was ever posted on a poker forum.
Now, Jake, your
So
story. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm done.
Now, Jake, your story is kind of interesting. You know, just reading about you. Here you are, 1.3 million in tournament winnings. You live in Paisley, Canada, with a population of 1,000. Do any one of these 1,000 people have any idea that you're just killing it and probably have more money than all of them?
Well, I'm not living there. Like, that's my hometown, but I'm going to university right now, so I've been living, like, the last few years in my university town.
Gotcha.
But I think a lot of people in my hometown, like, everybody knows everybody, and when, like, someone does something, like, I don't know, wins money at poker, does whatever, then, like, they get huge. Like, one person from our town, like, won the, like, a national, like, running event or something, and, like, his name is beside the sign for the town, like, when you come into town and stuff. So it's like, yeah, things like that become pretty big.
Yeah, well, you're next then.
yeah, maybe.
How did
I don't know.
you started a friend transferred you $50 and you started to run it up.
Yeah.
How did you learn? Were you just successful right away? I mean, you didn't struggle like Steph and keep reloading?
Well, I did struggle, but not at the very beginning so much, but definitely in the low and mid stakes. Like, my buddy who transferred me the $50, like, he won $10K, and that's, like, what, like, got me kind of interested in it when he won, like, I don't know, there's something about 5 figures, I guess, that is kind of, like, a bit appealing. So then, he was winning somewhat consistently, like, probably had, like, 30 or 40K profit. So he was like a reg, in tournaments in, like, 2008 or something. And so he kind of gave me, like, the basics, but he was very much like a field player, so he wasn't very solid in, like, some sort of, like, short stack type stuff and that. And so I kind of learned some of this stuff, like, about, like, reshoving and stuff from him. And then, but I'm not very much a field player, so I kind of started to struggle a lot and had to sit down and do some of the math and things to get a bit better. But, like, when I was first starting, like, playing, like, 180s and stuff, like, I didn't have much trouble going from $50 up to, like, $1,000 maybe. And then I kind of got stuck, and then I started playing 9-mans to go from, like, $1,000 to $5,000. And then when I started playing MTTs, when I had, like, 5K bankroll, I ran it up to, like, 30K in, like, a month. And then, so everything, like, up to that point was fairly smooth. But then I went on, like, my average buy-in at that time was like $50 or something, and I went on, like, a 26K downswing, and I basically went, like, back to where I started. Like, I clearly wasn't, like, I started playing, like, 150s and some, like, Sunday majors and stuff, and I clearly wasn't good enough at MTTs for that, so I got, like, I got coaching from, like, I forget, I guess Jennifer was one of my first coaches, and then I got, Todd Terry and Never Scared B coached me, and they kind of, those guys, I guess, opened my eyes up a lot and got me more thinking a lot better about the game and how to actually, like, improve and make money at it and stuff.
Now, did you ever think about quitting the game on your downswing?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, like, a big motivation for me at that time was that I was working, like, a full-time job for, like, a hydro company, and I, like, absolutely hated it, and I wanted to do anything but that, because, like, well, I also DJ and stuff, and that, like, working full-time just took all my energy and time for doing anything else. So I studied, like, I wanted to play poker and that, so that kind of motivated me. And I've always been, like, pretty rational about it and kind of stubborn, I guess. So when I'm going on a downswing, like, it makes me kind of want to work harder at it.
Now, what about you, Aaron? I saw at one point you were playing Heads Up Cash. When you first started, did you start with MTTs and sit and goes and that sort of thing, or did you start out playing cash and then made the transition to MTTs?
I started with cash, actually, partly because there weren't even tournaments low enough stakes for what I wanted to play. I started out playing 1 cent, 2 cent, no limit.
Right.
And as I moved up, I started seeing bonuses. Party poker used to have like tons of bonuses on all their different skins. And the only way to really clear them efficiently was limit, so I switched to limit pretty quick.
Wow.
So I played cash at the beginning, and I thought that tournaments were like way too much luck and like a horrible idea. And I had to watch all my friends win a bunch of tournaments before I got convinced to start playing them.
One thing about...
And then when I ran bad at tournaments a couple years later, I switched back to cash. And at that time, like Heads Up was kind of what everyone was playing, and so that's when I played Heads Up.
Did you ever find it limiting when you play tournaments? Like when you play cash, one of the beauties of that is, you could sit down and play and then leave if you get tired or you're running bad or something. You start multi-tabling these tournaments, you're in what? I mean, I don't know, 16 hours or something for some of these big tournaments? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge time commitment. I know personally, just being a recreational player, whenever I've taken it seriously in the past, I just have to rule out MTTs. I don't have that kind of time. Who has that kind of time?
Yeah, it used to be, Andres knows, in the old days, it used to be much worse. No synchronized breaks.
Right.
It was a real grind.
Yeah.
Back in 2005, 2006.
Did that ever affect you guys? I don't know, Steph. Was that ever like not appealing? Like knowing, wow, oh my God, if I go ahead and fire these up, I'm in for the long haul. Presuming I run good.
I never care actually. I love it.
Exactly. So I mean, if I'm starting a day and I know I'm in for 12 hours, I'm like, yes, 12 hours of poker.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I really love poker, but another way of looking at it is it does force me to put in a lot of hours, right? So if you're playing cash games and then you run bad, you stop for a couple hours, you go hang out with some buddies, next thing you know, you're 4 pitchers deep, and then you don't play for the rest of the day, right? Whereas I set out a schedule. Usually I'll play like four MTT days per week, and then I know I'm in for 12 to 6 hours on those days. But it allows me to put in a lot of hours, so it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron, your story is kind of fascinating to me because you are at the University of Florida. You leave the University of Florida to sort of follow your dream and move out to Las Vegas. And then I guess Black Friday hits, and I'm still fascinated by Black Friday. What was that like for you? And then 2 weeks later, you moved to Mexico to play. Sort of take us through that process.
Well, actually, I was living in Florida when Black Friday hit. In 2010, I got sick of Vegas and I moved back to Florida. So I mean, similar. It worked out really well because I had the kind of in between from Vegas. Was all poker all the time, always hanging out with poker players and always being in casinos and playing live. There's a live tournament there like practically every month and stuff. And so when I moved back to Florida, I was already kind of trying to get back to like a more regular lifestyle and like have non-poker friends and stuff like that. But then when Black Friday came, I just went all the way, and now I like don't even, other than the 2 or 3 poker players that live here, I don't even see anyone or play live or anything like that.
Right, but you did that's a big move because you're still young. How old are you at this point? You're 25? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're 25. I mean, to pick up and move out of the country, that's a big move, right? I don't know. Did you bring a girlfriend? Did you move in with some other poker players? I mean, that's a big move. I don't know that I'd be able to do that at 25.
Yeah, I brought my girlfriend with me. I was lucky that I already had one friend, J.C. Alvarado, who was living in this town, Playa del Carmen, and he'd been trying to get me to visit him for over a year, telling me how awesome it was and stuff. So it seemed like the perfect time to visit. And I actually visited with my girlfriend for a week, and she went back to Florida, and I just stayed for a couple more months, and then I went back and like helped her move and stuff and brought her back here, and we've both been living here ever since. So it worked out really well.
Do you miss the United States? I mean, is it? I mean, you're in Mexico. I mean, like I would be worried. Are you safe especially if people around you hear you're making millions of dollars. I mean, you hear about kidnappings and all sorts of things like that.
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, I don't talk about it too much when I'm, taking a cab or like at a bar or something. I don't talk about it very much. But I certainly feel safe here. It's like a big expatriate community. There's a lot of people from Europe and South America that live here, and a lot of people that are way richer than me that live here. So I don't really feel like I'm a target or that I'm unsafe or anything like that. In fact, it's nice because there's a lot of people that speak other languages than Spanish here. I haven't learned very much Spanish, in fact, because so many people speak English.
Right.
And they always speak English to me, and so it's a foreign country, but it's not as foreign as it could be, I guess.
Any of you other guys have to relocate because of Black Friday, or just Aaron?
I consider going back to Spain.
Right.
Yeah, Stefan, he moved.
Stefan did.
No, I'm in Canada. I was fine.
Oh, you were fine, yeah.
When
I consider
Black Friday
moving back to
happened,
Spain.
I was playing cash games in a casino, and I learned about that, and I quit the game and ran home to play the overlay MTTs. That's what happened on Black Friday.
That's funny.
What about you're still in Alaska, Andre? So how's that working for you?
Yes, I consider moving to Spain, but my wife, she's a teacher. She has a good job, and it was like in poker you don't have a salary.
Right.
And we have a 13 years old, or she has a 13 years old daughter that we're raising together. It was like too much move, so I decided to stay here.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, Jake, have you noticed, and any of you other guys can comment on this, have you noticed how have the games changed since Black Friday?
Well, I haven't put in a ton of volume since the summer, but immediately, like after Black Friday, there's like the WSOP, and then a ton of like sick guys went to the States and couldn't play online, and the games were the softest I've ever played, and yeah, I had like a pretty sweet summer. So
wow, is
I
that?
think it would be just the opposite.
Yeah, is that your experience
Pardon?
too? Like Aaron?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was actually getting really mad at PokerStars. It took them about a month to unlock my account, and I'm still pretty bitter about that because I missed the spring online championship.
Right.
But once I started playing, I just moved here. I didn't want to go play the series. I just wanted to live in Mexico. And yeah, the games were really great, and I made a lot of money. And I really liked, because I mean, normally the games are maybe a little better during the series, but people still play. Like if there's a day where there's no limit hold'em tournament or whatever, people will play online. But now, when no one could play online at all, and all the good European players were in Vegas too, it was right. It was like the old days.
Exactly.
It was really soft.
Wow.
It's amazing.
See, I always thought that like American players didn't have you always read all the forums and everything, and American players don't have necessarily a great reputation. But I don't know. Andres, or somebody, can you say like European players are definitely superior to American players, or vice versa? I mean, are you able to make comparisons like that?
I don't like to. I know that there's a lot of stereotypes about,
right.
Brazilians are crazy, Spaniards are really bad, French are. I like to play. I like to pay attention to what people is doing. I'm not the kind of guy who says, "Oh, this is like a $20 freeze out. Everybody sucks." I want to see how everybody's playing. What I do know is, because I'm doing a lot of coaching now, I'm doing like 16 to 20 hours of game history reviews every week, is that the level of play right now is awful. It's like extremely soft. Guys going to final tables on $50 freeze outs, race folding with 7 big blinds, and started things that we didn't see on full tilt and poker stars before Black Friday at those limits. I think that right now is like it's a festival. It's amazing how easy it is.
Wow, we might have to move, Bret.
At least at those limits. I'm not playing. my guys are not playing 150s, 109s, or 50 revised. They're playing low to mid stakes, and I really am surprised at the level of play right now.
Yeah, like I haven't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steph.
Go ahead, Steph, and then Aaron.
Okay, I was just gonna say. Okay.
No, that was
I was just gonna say that like I haven't put in a ton of volume the last like 2 months, but I've just noticed like on some of the Sundays I've played and just from scanning some of the lobbies that it looks like since a lot of Americans have moved abroad that some of the tournaments look like they're getting a little bit tougher these days. Definitely tougher than they were in the summer. I don't know exactly how they compare to pre-Black Friday, but I don't know. It doesn't seem super great though, for high stakes at least.
Yeah, I would say that there's like a gap. The guys from the U.S. that move, most of them were pros or serious players. In fact, that's why they move.
Right.
They don't bother to play the $22 cap tournaments on PokerStars, 500 players cap, or that kind of stuff. So it's like high stakes should be tough right now, but middle and low stakes, seeding goes even. I see things that I haven't seen in years. I should say.
That's very true.
Now, are any of you guys living in...
Poker became popular in the States before it became popular anywhere else, right? So even the bad players in the States had more experience than the bad players in Europe or Russia or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you take out all the Americans, the overall poker softness of, poker becomes softer because the Americans, on average, are better than other countries, right? So that's why I think, especially... like Andres said, mid-stakes, MTTs got really soft post-Black Friday. I made a sort of mistake because in early 2011, I decided to start focusing on live cash games a bit more and stuck with that plan even after Black Friday. So I actually didn't play that much up until after I came back from Vegas this summer. So I missed out on the real glory days of April to June.
And why was that? Why did you focus on that, Steph? Was it just because you were there and it was easy and it was a new experience, or did you have some sort of reason why you were doing that?
Well, it was actually partly in January 2011. I started working on my live cash, partly because I was worried in case something ever happened to online poker. I wanted to know where I stood in live cash games. So that's why I started working on that, and I wanted to make a decent run at the World Series in Vegas this summer, so I wanted to get more live experience before that.
Now, I'm not 100% familiar with all the laws. Are you living in places that, poker's 100% legal? Or are you living in places where, it's still kind of gray and the government could come in and shut it down and take your money? Or do you guys feel secure in everything playing online poker now?
I'm pretty sure it's legal in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
There's also three provinces that are running their own government-run poker site. So the government is actually already providing games for us. So I doubt that it would just go belly up like it did in the States. But who knows?
Yeah, and I would guess like it would take quite a while because Canada seems to take their time on making big changes like that too. So,
Aaron, you're comfortable where you are? No issues there?
I'm comfortable. I'm not sure about the legality of it, but I'm comfortable that nothing will ever happen.
Right.
It's just not a priority here. There's a drug war going on, and they have two borders that they're trying to control. They have immigration of their own on the south, and then all the violence on the border in the north, and I just don't see them ever devoting a lot of resources to like policing anything like financial or like internet crime, or something. So I haven't even really told anyone like immigration or anything that I play online poker here, but it seems like the sort of thing that will always,
How did
will always be viable in Mexico.
How did Black Friday affect your bankroll management? Because we all learned oh my God, just like that, we could really be stuck a lot of money if we keep it online, and I'm sure a lot of guys for a long time kept large sums of money, on their online accounts. Have you guys all sort of changed the way you approach that now, knowing that, wow, some of these sites aren't nearly as viable maybe as I even thought they were? I don't know, Aaron?
Yeah. I learned my lesson with the first UIGA or whatever
Right.
it's called.
Right.
When NetTeller got shut down, someone told me to take my money out of NetTeller, and I actually made a $90,000 deposit on PokerStars 2 days before NetTeller was frozen.
Wow.
In 2006. And a lot of my friends had, people kept their whole bankrolls in NetTeller because you could put it anywhere, you could withdraw it to your bank or a poker site or anything. And I was like a day away from losing my bankroll, and I luckily I had it on Stars, and as soon as I could, I got it off of Stars. And since then, I've tried to keep less and less money online. I did get about 20,000 frozen by Full Tilt, but
That's going to come
some of my
back
friends have
sooner
10
or
times
later.
that much. Like, it could have been a lot worse.
Right. It's kind of the price of doing business. All you guys have done the same. Jake, you've done the same. It's limited how much you keep online now, your exposure.
Yeah. I used to, when Black Friday in the States happened, I had six figures on Full Tilt, and I was so scared because as soon as that happened, they locked money bookers and stuff, so you couldn't withdraw or anything. And I was like, wow, at the time, it was 90% of my bankroll or something. And then, but as soon as money bookers got working again, I took everything off that I could, or I took a lot of it off before Full Tilt actually went down. And now I don't keep over 5 figures on any site, basically.
Wow.
What happened? I never kept my own money online. I had backers for years, but what it did happen to me was that I was coaching a group of guys, and I was getting a percentage of their profits. And on a Sunday, 2 Sundays before Black Friday, one of the guys that I started to coach, he was a $4 average buying guy. A few months later, he chops the Sunday Million, and I get a big chunk out of that. He sent it to me on PokerStars, but I had just returned from vacations in Spain, so PokerStars didn't let me cash out. So I asked my backer, hey, do you have money on UV? He said, yes. I say, okay, I send you. Stars would let me transfer but not cash out. So I say, okay, I send you the money on Stars. You send it to me on UV. He does that. It took a few days, and then a few days to finally find the amount of money that we needed on UV. So on a Monday, I had the money on UV. I do an instant check or bank wire, whatever it was. They accept the money, and on Friday, when the money was supposed to hit my bank, is when everything happened. So, and then PokerStars paid.
Oh.
So that was a bad bit for me.
Yeah.
So how much was that? Can you tell us? Was it?
It was $15,000.
Wow.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Now let's talk a little bit about the videos you guys are going to be making, because Aaron, I sort of watched that little preview video where you talked about yourself a little bit, and you said you're going to be making, I had to write this down, the independent chip model, which teaches decisions to maximize dollar expectations rather than winning a tournament. Why don't you sort of explain what that is and the style of video you're going to be making? Because I was confused, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, the independent, I don't know how detailed an explanation you want, but essentially the independent chip model is a model which takes into account the fact that in tournaments, your goal is not just to win all the chips. So whenever you're making a decision in a hand, your goal shouldn't be what's most likely to win all the chips, because you have a secondary goal, which is to outlast other players and finish higher. And so the way the model works is it assumes that whenever you have a certain amount of chips, that say increasing your stack by 1,000 chips is worth some amount less than decreasing your stack by 1,000 chips hurts you. the extra chips have diminishing marginal value. And
Makes sense.
this was originally developed for sit-and-goes, and it wasn't really a big part of tournament play, and sit-and-go players used it a lot. But the trend in the last couple of years for tournaments has been to make their payout structure more and more like sit-and-goes. Tournaments on PokerStars used to pay out 9 to 10% of the field. Now they're paying anywhere from 15 to 20% of the field. And another big difference is that the kind of minimum cash, the like bottom 10% or bottom 20% or whatever of that, the bottom of that 10 or 20% is what I mean, is getting more. So more and more of the prize pool is going to places other than first. And in fact, if you look at like the tournaments that have run on PokerStars, if you look at the trend over the last couple of years, like the 1K, the weekly 1K or the Sunday Million, the amount of money for first is going down even as the prize pool is getting larger. And so the adjustment that you have to make for that is to be more conscious of opportunities for you to get places other than first, which is primarily playing the bubble, but also at final tables. It used to be first place would be something like 40% of the prize pool. Second place would be like another 25% of the prize pool, and everyone else would chop up the rest. And so you could play very aggressively at the final table and try to accumulate all the chips, because if you did, you get a huge chunk of the prize pool. And now first place is getting more like, it's like 18% of the prize pool in a lot of these big tournaments. And the way that people have to play has changed, in my opinion, has changed a lot. And I've changed how I play a lot in the last couple of years because of that.
Wow.
So that's what I was talking about.
So that's what you're going to focus on. Jake, what are you going to focus on? What's going to make your video style different than everybody else's?
I don't know. I kind of my theory about poker and teaching poker is that like pretty much all decisions stem from having like really solid fundamentals and stuff. So I'm going to be kind of focusing on trying to give guys the knowledge on how to work out, like how to make decisions, rather than like a lot of people like they just kind of tell you what you should be shoving or reshipping or something in certain situations. But rather than that, I'm going to try and teach like how to figure out what to reship and call reships with, and just like base everything off fundamentals, because I feel like if your fundamentals are strong enough, then the game just becomes so much easier, because you can just start using those to figure out, like they all help in figuring out the more complicated situations. So yeah.
Okay. Now, Steph, you were saying that your videos, I mean, obviously you're going to give a lot of poker strategy advice, but you're also going to maybe give some life advice, maybe how to pick up chicks, because that's something you learned as you picked up the game of poker. Why don't you talk about your style of videos you're going to be making on Bluefire?
Yeah, so most of my videos are probably going to be hand history reviews of tournaments I've played. I play more exploitative style of poker, not as much math-based, so I'm pretty excited to watch Aaron and Jake's videos, actually, to help me in that department. So I'm going to be talking about, I think I'm very good at figuring out tendencies of my opponents and then being able to adjust very quickly and optimally to those tendencies. Other than that, I've read a lot of books, random books about psychology and stuff that has nothing to do with poker, but can still be applied to poker. So what I'm going to try to do is maybe once per video, maybe highlight a certain book I've read and then highlight certain concepts that the book taught me that I can then apply to poker, and reverse as well, where I learn certain strategies in poker that can also be applied to life. So that's a bit what I plan on doing.
Andres, you?
Yes. Well, one thing that I focus the most when I play is on adjusting my game to what people is doing at the table. And that is something that I believe that most poker players tend to stereotype opponents too much. like the old joke, I hover my mouse over this guy, he's from Brazil, I'm calling him Xavi, he's from England, I don't. Stuff like that. I'm going to do the most is to review hand histories with students of mine. Because I want to ask them, and at the same time, if somebody's watching the video, I want them to think, I always want to ask them, what is this guy doing? How is he playing? So your decision depends on that. When I sit at a new table or one of the hand history review that I've been making of one of my students, when they get moved to a new table and they have a hand that normally they could play with no information and say, well, you don't have information. I prefer to pass up sometimes some hands. And when I know how they're playing, I start to play other hands, maybe even weaker hands than the one I already folded. But because now I know how they play. And I also would like to, I'll do my best to try to show people where to find information about opponents that would help them to make decisions. And I'm not talking about Hold'em Manager. In my first video that is going to come up tonight, I talk a lot about how to use Sharpscope to know how people play, even if it's the first hand in your life that you play against that person. How to analyze all the information that you can have, you can retrieve online. Opening somebody's graph on Sharpscope, I can pretty much tell you in 2 minutes, if the sample size is good enough, how that person plays. And so if I have a decision to make and I don't have hands, at least I can try to use that information that I have.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Well, listen, we appreciate all you guys joining us. I know it's kind of hard because it's hard to really get in depth with your poker stories and your accomplishments and everything like that. But, I mean, obviously looking from your freaking winnings, I mean, you guys are at least close to $1 million, over $2 million in tournament winnings. So it's pretty damn impressive. And congratulations to you guys. And like I said, Blue Fire Poker, online poker goes away in the United States. Blue Fire Poker adds instructors. Their site's thriving. So it's pretty damn cool. So congratulations to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
We should do some videos together, guys. We should do something like that.
Yeah, people will love that.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We really, really appreciate it. Until next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Good
Good luck with the site.
Peace.
See you guys.
Take care.